Hey everybody, Blake T. Wild here, and welcome to the spookiest month of the year, where I am covering a month-long horrific comics on the What Is series of my channel. And also make sure to check out my 5-week-long series, Nightmare Arcade, where I am playing through 5 different horror games each week. But this, of course, also means that I am taking a little break from Ultimate Year and my coverage of the Squadron Supreme. Don't worry, before you type anything in the comments, they will be back in November. And yeah, this isn't the most Halloween-y comic I could have chosen, especially from this series of Deadpool. There's a lot more Halloween-y based ones, like when he fights Dracula and marries the goddess of the underworld, essentially. Awesome character, love it. But I wanted to continue covering the Jerry Duggan and Brian Posehn's Deadpool series ever since I did the first volume back in 2018. That's how long it has been since I last covered this series. It's my favorite era of Deadpool, is this version. I adore it. And like I said, while there are far more apt stories down the line, like when Deadpool meets Shikla, that would make more sense around Halloween, I guess. We're not there yet. And this is a pretty scary enough one, because it has Deadpool making deals with a demon and meeting Mephisto. That's Halloween-y. But of course, before we get started, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content just like this, and leave me down below any suggestions for Ultimate Marvel comics that I have not yet covered that I need to cover in my time discussing every Ultimate Marvel comic. I don't know why I've made this decision, but I have. Released in 2013, written by Jerry Duggan and Brian Posehn, with art by Scott Koblish and colors by Val Staples. This is Deadpool, Soulhunter. The book begins a long time ago. In the Daily Bugle offices, the staff ponder over what stories they should run, and then Ben Urich brings up Tony Stark. Robbie agrees and notes that the Stark Company's stock is in the toilet, is also a target of a hostile takeover, and Stark is running into legal issues in California, and also has a bit of a drinky problem. Peter tries to inject his way into the conversation by suggesting rumors that Oscorp is conducting illegal weapons manufacturing, but no one pays any attention. Jonah declines the Tony Stark stuff and says he won't kick a man while he's down, except for Spider-Man, who of course, as we all know, is not a man, but a horrible cowardice monster that horrifies and haunts New York. Then he tells Ben to go with their piece on the Vulture, and Jonah screams at Parker to get a goddamn haircut, go get him more pictures of Spider-Man. Peter makes his way down the street and runs into Flash Thompson, who parks in a handicap spot. Peter chastises him as Flash struts away, and then Deadpool pushes Peter to the ground and steals Flash's car. Peter coughs as Deadpool revs the engines and speeds away. Flash runs out, cries to Peter for letting the guy get away with stealing his ride, and Peter says it's karma for illegally parking there. And down the street, Deadpool almost hits the power pack. He shouts that their poor sales will do the killing for him, and then a strange suited figure bamfs into his car and introduces himself as Mr. Vettis, and offers Deadpool a job. Vettis informs DP that this is purely business, baby, and that he represents a powerful interest that would like Deadpool to take care of Tony Stark. Deadpool says that he better get some hazard pay since he'll have to deal with Tony Stark's bodyguard, Iron Man, and Vettis reveals that Tony Stark is Iron Man. Then he informs Wade that Stark's sobriety isn't in his client's best interest and that he needs Deadpool to get him off the wagon. And if he does, Deadpool will be handsomely rewarded. And Deadpool doesn't pay attention when horns sprout out of Vettis' head and the pen with which he is to sign the agreement catches fire, and simply asks where he's got to go. Vettis snaps his fingers and they arrive in sunny Los Angeles, California. Deadpool offers to go the extra mile and make Stark's death look like he did it to himself, but Vettis prompts that all he needs is for Tony Stark to get back on the bottle. Vettis exits the car and thanks Deadpool for beginning what will no doubt be a very lucrative partnership. He heads off to the bus stop to make some deals with some young people looking for their dreams in California. And Deadpool asks why weirdos like Vettis collect souls, and Vettis explains,
"It's not just what one can take from humans, it's also what one can hide inside of you little meatbags. The higher-ups down in hell tend to notice when a lowly demon like myself starts hoarding power. But if you spread it around here on Earth, it can get a lot harder to keep track of. Yeah, well, seems to me that You're embezzling power from hell.
You're not as stupid as you look. Now go have fun with Iron Man. Later at Stark International, Deadpool climbs his way up to Tony's suite and breaks inside. He finds Stark's checkbook and takes a gander in there and discovers that he's been staying at a hotel elsewhere in LA. At a hotel elsewhere in LA, a derelict Tony Stark watches Howard the Duck, his favorite movie, when Deadpool knocks at the door and leaps inside. Tony asks how he found him, and Deadpool points out all the clues that Tony left behind. And Tony asks why he's here, and Deadpool unveils his massive bag of booze. Tony rambles about how pathetic and depressed he is, about what a terrible person he is, and Deadpool tells him he's definitely not the worst person in the room right now, and convinces Tony to grab a bottle and pour it all out. Tony exclaims how great it feels to have it in his hands and not even take a sip. Suddenly, a news report appears on the TV announcing that a nuclear power plant nearby is overheating and all the generators have failed. Tony readies himself to get back into action, but Deadpool clocks him over the head with a bottle. Then Deadpool outfits himself, grabs the liquor, and explodes out of the hotel in his tricked-out Iron Man suit as he prepares for the Armored Avenger's most intoxicating adventure. Drunken Iron Man sloppily flies his way to the power plant. Along the way, he spots an armored car being robbed, ignores it, and continues. Then he smashes through a wall as an employee informs him that the reactor isn't cooling, and that they need to cool the fuel rods down, possibly by seawater. So, Drunken Ironpool collects the inanimate glowing rods and lobs them into the ocean. And sometime later, along the Pacific Coastal Highway, Tony Stark chastises Deadpool for the immense environmental damages he's done to the Pacific Ocean, and Deadpool says that sure is a weird way to thank him after he saved the day when Tony blacked out. Then Tony drives away and flips Deadpool the bird as Vetus appears.
How dare you? Do you know what you've done? Stark is more sober than ever! No. I lived up to my end of the bargain. You hired me to make sure Iron Man drank. And Iron Man did drink. I could barely work that crazy suit. I was so buzzed.
No. Wait. I wanted Stark to drink. Our contract
Our contract said Iron Man, not Stark. And hey, I didn't make a bad Iron Man, if I do say so myself, even if I was drinking on the job. Vetus, you have failed me for the last time. You've been buying souls and doling out power with nothing to show for it. Let's have a nice long chat about your incompetence.
No! Mephisto, please wait! The mortal cheated me!
No! That's even worse! Hey, while I have you both, you killed the wrong Belushi. Oh, and say hi to Uncle Ben for me.
Then a version of Cable appears, missing his arm and wearing a colander on his head. He informs Wade that he lost his arm to Senor Sinister, and that if they don't go back to this version of the future, the Messiah War will break out and a mutated form of the Legacy virus will infect all of the X-Men. But unfortunately, Cable won't be able to return Wade for about another 10 years or so, which is why he doesn't show up again until New Mutants 98. Back in the present, Wade hangs out in his mental palace as he welcomes Agent Emily Preston to his mind. If you don't remember, and I don't blame you, the video on Volume 1 was about 5 years ago. She was killed when zombie George Washington attacked S.H.I.E.L.D.'s helicarrier, and then Michael the Necromancer transferred her consciousness into Wade to keep her from outright dying. And here's where she is now. Deadpool wants her input on Preston's former boss, S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Gorman, and how exactly Wade is going to get his payment and revenge on him since Gorman refused to pay him after she died, and threatened to bring the hammer of S.H.I.E.L.D. down on Deadpool. Preston reminds him that Gorman is a high-ranking S.H.I.E.L.D. agent and that they have far more important things to worry about, like getting her out of Deadpool's head. Then Preston notices the taste of strawberry and realizes that Deadpool has hijacked an ice cream truck and is currently waltzing down the street towards her home, where her husband and son are. She pleads with Wade not to do this, but then recants and says that she just wants one quick look inside. Wade clambers up a tree onto the roof and sneaks into Jeff Preston's room. The little boy tries to call out to his father as Deadpool covers his mouth and reveals that he works with his mom, and asks the boy not to cry out because he knows a certain nerve cluster that'll knock him right out. Deadpool reveals to Jeff that his mom is actually inside his noggin after a wizard put her there before she died. And Preston yells at him for saying that to a child, but the mind of a child is an enlightened and understanding one. And Jeff tells Wade that he knew his mommy wasn't dead. And Preston takes over Wade's body. Her voice comes out of Deadpool's, and she apologizes and promises her son that she'll be back soon, but until then, he needs to take care of Daddy. Then Daddy Preston marches into the room with a shotgun as Deadpool leaps out of the window, and Wade is shot square in the ass. Wade limps down the road, frees the Ice Cream Man, and says that he's commandeering his van in the name of the Avengers, something the Ice Cream Man does not believe, and drives away. And as he does so, a voice comes from the back of the truck, and a horrid-looking Vetus appears. Wade slams on the brakes, and Vetus is launched out of the windshield, taking Wade with him. Vetus asks if Wade likes his new look after he was tortured for what Wade did to him. And then he says that Deadpool is gonna work for him, or else his friend Michael the Necromancer dies. Vetus gives Wade a scroll containing 5 names, one of which is Michael, and if Deadpool kills the other 4, Vetus will save Michael's life, and that'll be the end of their interactions. And then Vetus reveals that the only reason he's been freed from hell is because Michael was one of the first humans that he made a deal with to get the magic, and all the demons that were in charge of the imprisonment and torture or whatever thought it was hilarious what Michael did with all the zombie presidents. Later, in an East Village Mexican restaurant, Deadpool, Michael, and the ghost of Benjamin Franklin try to figure out a plan. Don't you fucking love this series? It's just so insane. I adore it. Michael reveals that he was about to wash out of the experimental shield program for magic users and that he really needed something, and that's when Vetus showed up and offered him the powers that he needed. Franklin realizes that this is why Michael's plan with the presidents went awry. He's chock full of demon magic! Wade tells them to shut up, because talking about demons isn't helping them figure out what to do about the demons. They discuss the Preston situation, and Ben ponders what exactly they're going to do with her mind and soul since her body is no more. Deadpool orders Michael and Ben to search for old magical tomes, and then the waiter walks up and asks Wade to finish his meal quietly and leave, because he's terrifying the other customers. And a couple days later, in New Jersey, Deadpool hunts down Corrado Coloruno, one of New Jersey's most wanted. He sold his soul for invulnerability. They watch as Corrado saunters out of a bank as a guard fires upon him and climbs into his escape car. Then Wade slams his katana down into the driver's head. Corrado escapes and calls for help, and the security guard is like, oh, I didn't see anything. Corrado then runs away, but Wade wraps a chain around his neck, connects it to the car, and speeds off. Corrado climbs up and smashes through the back window, and Deadpool opens fire as he informs the invulnerable man that the time's up on his soul. Also, a bullet gets wedged beneath his eye as he drives into a wreck yard. Corrado climbs out, rips off the door, and Wade fires a bullet right up his nose, which shocks him just enough to allow Wade to kick him and drag him across the yard. Corrado screams that as long as he draws breath, nothing will ever hurt him, which is why Wade brought him to this machine. He activates it, and molten metal pours out, caking Corrado's head and hands. And he doesn't take a breath, and falls to the ground lifeless. And Preston tells Wade that she's disgusted by what just happened. And Wade tells her to get off her high horse, and if she wanted a fine and dandy experience, then maybe she should have died near Captain America. And Preston asks to be left alone for a while. Then an attractive redhead walks up and asks Wade for the time. And as this is happening, a man sneaks up behind him and opens fire. Wade tries to strike back, but he's tased and falls unconscious. The woman starts a stopwatch as the two men unload a case, connect IVs, and begin collecting pints of blood while harvesting Wade's organs. They collect as much as they can before time runs out, load into a van, and speed away. Over on my Etsy shop, BlakeTWild.etsy.com, you can purchase issues 1 and 2 of the Custodians Agents of Cross. Each issue is over 50 pages of pure comics for only $15. You won't find a better deal like that for Marvel or DC these days. What happens when the fate of the world rests on the shoulders of an intelligent baboon, the world's smartest man who has the power of elasticity but only in his right arm, a pyrokinetic teenager, and a 4-armed werewolf? I also have all 5 issues of Destructo Boy available there as well. What's that? You don't like physical comics? Well, great, because over on my Patreon, patreon.com/Smokey'sVideos, I have all the issues available digitally, published on there for only $2. And in Wade's mind, Preston desperately tries to get him to wake up. but nothing works. And Wade murmurs the name Eleanor for some reason. Preston gives up and realizes that a door that used to be locked is now open. And she enters and finds a massive Deadpool museum full of talking Deadpool art installations. Takes a look around as the Wade paintings and art tell her to stay away from his mind and not go looking around. Particularly that long dark hallway over there that's mysterious and scary. And then a Wade asks why she's so interested in him anyway. And she asks who Eleanor is or what that means. And the Wade painting indignantly tells her that he doesn't remember. And says that even though she's in his head, she needs to stay out of his life. Preston reluctantly agrees and exits the museum. Wade later wakes up to a homeless man asking if he's okay. He gets up, takes a gander at his demon scroll as Michael and Ben roll up in the stolen ice cream truck. Franklin explains that they ran into a little bit of a problem. So Ben knows about this old Ancient One stronghold. You know, the Ancient One, the guy who taught Doctor Strange. But it was built on an island just off of Manhattan, and it was perfectly fine the last time Ben visited in the 1700s. But now, a prison has been built on that same island. Rikers, to be exact. Wade suggests that Michael just teleport him inside, but Michael explains that he needs to be familiar with the location he's magically teleporting to, or he needs an anchor, like a spirit or a talisman, or else, who knows what the fuck he'll do. He might pop somebody's head open. Deadpool comes up with a plan. Later, two police officers sit outside of Sausage King, enjoying their meat, when Michael walks up, and reluctantly lifts his kilt to reveal his meat. He is tased, arrested, booked, showered, and imprisoned on Rikers Island. Michael magically teleports Wade and Ben inside, and then Ben heads down a magical linked rope to scout out the secret library as Wade and Michael wait in the cell. A short time later, the two teleport inside and find Ben in the dark. Michael lights some torches and notes the magical power emanating from this chamber. The trio begin looking around, unaware that the portrait of the Ancient One is watching them. I don't think this ever comes up again. This is just something that happens. I don't remember anything about the Ancient One or this painting ever reappearing in this series. Maybe I'm wrong. If I am, let me know. But I'm pretty sure this is just like a Scooby-Doo joke. And sometime later, at a beach in New Jersey, a voice cries out for help. A lifeguard named Artie races out, and as he arrives at the drowning person, Deadpool apologizes for what he's about to do, and he tries to drown the lifeguard. And Preston reminds him that Artie sold his soul to essentially become Aquaman and help people, which also means that he can breathe underwater and telepathically summon life. And then two sharks rip into him. As Wade begins to sink to the bottom of the ocean, the sharks are ordered to swim away, and Wade wonders why he feels so serene. And Preston notes that they are drowning. Then Artie swims down and grabs Wade and begins pulling him to shore, trying to get out of the water before Wade's blood causes a frenzy in the sharks and he can't control them anymore. Wade asks why the hell Artie sent the sharks away and is saving him, and Artie tells him that he saves people. Wade calls him an idiot and stabs him, and leaves his body submerging in the ocean for the sharks.
Hello, Vetus. You just had me kill a guy with the dumbest power in the world. This is what he wanted. It's what made him happy. That's the business that I'm in. I'm a broker of happiness. And one day, many years ago, a boat capsized in the rough waters right here. And our little lifeguard friend was on duty. But he couldn't save them all. Oh, but after I bestowed my gifts upon him, nobody ever drowned at this beach ever again. Why are you doing this? Why are you giving these little people power only to take it away later? There's gotta be an easier way to kill souls. Get a show on TLC, for instance. You know, this is all part of a plan I hatched a long time ago. Why do you care? How many souls have you cleared off the board? Dozens? Hundreds? Hey, did you hit the century mark yet? Oh, wait. I get it. You feel bad. That is rich. Oh, I needed that. If it's any consolation, Deadpool, he died doing what he loved. What, looking for a seahorse to ride? Oh, Deadpool. That little guy just wanted to save people who were in trouble. He wanted to be a hero. Saving a life. He's got to go so that your friend Michael can stay. Artie, however, utterly wasted my gift. But it was his to waste. That's the beauty of this doomed little world of yours. You people can do whatever the hell you want. This is almost over, Vetus. And when it is, you're going to stay away from me, or there will be consequences. I might not be able to kill you. But oh boy, I'll have fun trying. Such bravado! It's a good thing you and I are friends, Wade. Otherwise, I might become cross with you.
A few hours later, Wade leaves the boardwalk. Then they find Michael and Ben, who reveal the good news. Michael has discovered a spell to transplant a living soul. Unfortunately, the spellbook has a strange binding on it, and the letters and words swim around constantly. But Michael promises that he can unlock it. Wade pulls Michael out of the truck and asks him to do a really big favor. He needs Michael to find Vetus's boss and make a deal with him. Offer to rat out Vetus in return for his soul, because if they keep going down this path, they are no doubt going to lose. Michael ponders how the hell he's going to go about summoning a demon more powerful than Vetus, as Wade reaches for his shin knife, and Ben calls out for him to stop. And then Wade sticks it to Michael's throat, and Preston briefly takes control, but Wade knocks her aside, and he slashes Michael's throat open. Later, the group exit the Lincoln Tunnel. Ben is outraged at what Wade has done, killing a friend in cold blood as he begged for his life. And Ben tells him that he won't stand for this anymore, and his heart breaks for Agent Preston. And then he flies to a strip club. Meanwhile, in hell, Michael waits in a line. He asks the guy ahead of him how long he's been there, and the bank robber reveals it's not been that long. He tried to rob a bank on New Year's Eve to take advantage of that Y2K glitch. And Michael realizes how fucked he is and calls out that he needs to speak to Mephisto immediately. And everyone steps away as a demon with a little tie on exits the office booth and demands to know why Michael is searching for an audience with the Great and Dark Lord. Michael says he has a secret from Mephisto, then the demon eats him. Elsewhere in Manhattan, Wade goes after his next target, a man who sold his soul for precognition named Daniel Gump. He scales the side of the skyscraper as he argues with Preston and eventually climbs to the rooftop, walks inside, and is thwacked off the roof. Luckily, he's caught by a web-shooting superhero. Spider-Man appears and pulls Wade up, and Wade asks why he seems so different and so serious all of a sudden. Yep, this was only about a year after Otto Octavius took over Peter Parker's mind and body and became the superior Spider-Man. Spider-Man hoists Wade over his back and climbs up the building, and they fight a bunch of goons, and then one of my favorite Marvel villains appears, Bashrock Zelliper, and Deadpool unceremoniously snaps his knee. Then Gump appears, and Wade prepares to fire on him when Spider-Man orders him to stop because his spider sense is tingling. Gump reveals that he has a dead man switch hooked up to his bomb vest, and Deadpool points out that Spider-Man can just web his hand, immediately ending the threat. Then a strange assortment of villains appear. Taskmaster, Chance, Pastepot Pete, now going by the name of Trapster, and Stilt Woman. Spider-Man webs Gump's hand, and the duo fight the villains. Taskmaster and Wade have a brief back and forth, with Taskmaster revealing that his heart's just not in this fight, and he's just pretty much doing it for the easy paycheck, and he asks Wade not to hit him in the face. So Wade kicks him in the stomach, and Taskmaster sells it expertly and crumbles to the ground. Wade does not do the same with Trapster. Meanwhile, Spider-Man takes down Chance and Stilt Woman, then Deadpool shoots Trapster's hose and explodes his sticky goo everywhere. Stilt Woman narrowly manages to escape with Gump in hand, and they run into the city, and Wade steals Spider-Man's web shooter for himself and leaps after them. Eventually, he catches them, and they careen into a roof. Deadpool attaches magnetized packs of thermite to Stilt Woman's legs, and her suit is destroyed, and she escapes out of her costume, but Wade webs her up, and then grabs Gump and drives his katana through the old man's chest. Then Spider-Man appears and kicks Wade across the roof and knocks him unconscious. Later, Deadpool awakens upside down in a web cocoon with the other villains, and Spider-Man tells him not to cross paths with him ever again, and then leaves. And Wade pulls a blowtorch out from a hidden, intimate area and works to free himself. A couple weeks later, Wade cooks dinner for Preston's family, following her instructions, and then the doorbell rings, and who should appear at the door but Agent Scott Adsit.
Tracy, this is our producer, Pete.
Hey!
Hey, you smoke weed, right, Pete?
No.
Me neither. Me and you, Pete. Me and you.
Deadpool thanks him for coming and leads him to the kitchen where he discovers the Prestons tied up. Preston takes over Wade and reveals what happened to her. Adsit doesn't believe it, so Preston tells Wade to tell Adsit that he shares something in common with Lance Armstrong. Adsit is shocked and hugs Wade and tells Preston how much he's missed her. Adsit tells Wade that he's not going to rat him out, especially after S.H.I.E.L.D. thinks that he's practically useless after losing his partner, and then he asks what he can do to help him. And Wade says that they need a life model decoy to house Preston inside of. Meanwhile, in hell, Mephisto says that Michael is very entertaining as a mortal and demands to know why he called his name. Michael reveals that he knows something about Vetus that Mephisto doesn't, and that he wants to trade. Elsewhere, Deadpool waits atop a roof for his next target and spots a familiar face, Luke Cage. Wade moves to get a closer look, misses his jump, slams into a fire escape, and over the railing. Meanwhile, upstairs at the Jones-Cage residence, Jessica greets her husband and tells him that she's about to take a shower and asks if he'd like to join her. Meanwhile, Deadpool and Preston watch from the window. But Luke keeps calling Jessica babe and using weird, sort of stereotypical black slang, and he pulls her closer, and Jessica punches him in the face, and Luke Cage transforms into a middle-aged fat guy in a spandex suit. Jessica goes after him, and Deadpool smashes into the window and... Wait a minute. Look at this panel. Those glass shards are clearly covering Jessica's body, even though she's wearing a bra and underwear. Wait a minute. Let's go back. Bring it back. So, okay, here we go. Grocery bag is covering her groin. Luke Cage is covering her breasts. This panel doesn't reveal much, but the next panel has the blender's hand covering her and Jessica's own arm in the way. She was clearly drawn to be naked, right? There's no doubt in my mind that she was originally drawn nude beneath that big jersey. Because it doesn't really make sense. She's chilling around the house. Why is she in her underwear and bra if there's no one else there? She's just chilling out. Just had been home for a while. There's no way she wasn't just drawn nude. And then editorial said, hell no. And so they drew a very form-fitting bra and underwear over her. Was that worth breaking out of the story in the video to analyze? Probably not. But it's interesting to see what possibly went into making this comic. Anyway, Deadpool bursts in, tries to grab the blender, accidentally slams into Jessica as Blender takes the form of Black Widow and escapes. Deadpool, before jumping back out of the window, tells Jessica to tell Luke that he said, "Sup?" And Jessica tells him that Luke is still mad at him. Deadpool flies off the fire escape, slams into a car, and chases after the blender.
Oh, that little hobbit can run. It ain't easy being me.
It ain't easy being in you, Wade.
Oh, look at this, Preston. All the animals come to Times Square. Tourists, shoppers, commuters, and boring types that pushed all the whores, beggars, queens, dopers, and junkies out. But someday a real rain will come and wash all this scum off the streets, and all the cool kids can come back. Well, here we go.
Oh my god, you're not gonna...
Everybody drop!
There he is.
Yeah, I see him. You're using my eyes, remember? Presto Changeo! Presto Changeo? You're mine now! Hey, what the hell are you doing, dude? No, wait, it's not what you think. That cheerleader's actually a dude! You run off now, little girl. I got this creepy bastard. That's no better. Transgender people are one of the most bullied people in our society. They deserve our compassion. And yes, I do realize the irony of trying to beat some human dignity into you. Okay, I have a nice little Rice Krispie treat for you. Take a rest and enjoy your break. Oh, Lord, this kind of intolerance and hate would never have happened in the old Times Square. Nice try. I won't fall for this crap again, you doorknob. This isn't even Daredevil's neighborhood.
All right, Deadpool, stop. Put the guns down or I'm gonna put you down.
I just want you to know that this isn't a personal thing. You just made a deal with the devil. Oh my God, I'm trying to fight the real Daredevil. Let me go! I do not have time for this!
What are you talking about? You need help, Deadpool, but I am not in the mood. No more! Running through my city like an unhinged madman. Remember that you started this.
They started this. They drew first blood.
What?
Come on, First Blood. Stallone. John Rambo versus small town cops. Oh yeah! You probably don't watch a lot of movies.
Counselor, I request a sidebar. I am not Matt Murdock.
I don't know who that is. You, however, need to cut me loose or else something really bad will happen.
I believe that you believe that's true, but even so, you can't be trusted.
Well, sometimes to make an omelet, you gotta break a few fingers. Gah. Hey, horns! Where's the closest hospital?
What? Mount Sinai Medical Center, 5 blocks. What did you do?
I shot him. I thought you had amazing senses.
You are sick. His femoral artery is damaged.
Oh, good news! I hear Mount Sinai Medical Center's only a few blocks away.
Deadpool eventually manages to chase down the blender, grabs them, snaps their neck in the middle of the street. Then Vetus shows up to collect, and also because he wants to tell Deadpool that he's taking Michael's soul next, then Wade's. Deadpool reveals that he already killed Michael, and without that soul, Vetus is shit out of luck. Vetus erupts into a rageful fire and launches Wade across the city. He slams into a parked car and tosses a woman and her son into a building to keep them safe. As the Hulk slams him into the asphalt, Vetus shifts his form and begins wailing on Wade as he brutally explains just how fucked Wade is going to be. A couple blocks away, 2 homeless men eat from the stolen ice cream truck when a shadowy figure emerges from one of the freezers. And they flee the truck as the figure drives it away. Elsewhere, Deadpool skids down an alleyway as Preston suggests that they call S.H.I.E.L.D. Then she says that she recognizes the building that they just hit, and Wade places a plastic explosive on the Baxter building. Several defensive measures engage as Wade calls Dr. Strange's number in a panic, only to get his voicemail.
Don't bother, you can't hurt me with a gun anyway. It makes me feel better.
This isn't a goodbye, Deadpool. I'll see you down in hell in just a little while,
and then we'll spend eternity together.
I'm gonna be famous when I sell this.
This is a private conversation. Great, now the Bugle's only gonna report that I hit a kid.
Why save the kid, Wade? You can never do enough good to clear your ledger.
I'm not trying to balance the scales. I'm just trying to save someone's dumb son. Oh, God, Avengers Assemble, it's clobbering time, right? Come on, any time now. Imagine how weird it must be for Sue Storm to get hugged like this every day.
That's what you're thinking about right now?
Dragging you to hell is the first good deed I've ever done. Has there ever been a story where a wizard arrived on time? Stop. Hell. Damn it, I knew I'd have to deal with Strange event.
Silence, demon.
Michael! My boy! Yes, I knew it! Waste this dude! Then summon some eagles and shit and we'll fly to dinner. Did you lose weight?
You are undone, Vetus.
You know, for a minute, I thought Deadpool actually killed you.
I do want to say I really appreciate the fun you had with those dead presidents.
I didn't raise those men for your pleasure or anyone else's enjoyment. I returned them so they could help this country.
You really helped me out down below.
Oh, yeah! Stop fighting, Deadpool.
Okay. Nighty night. I've seen the next few moments into the future, and you don't even move, so I'm assuming you have accepted the situation. So just let me reach inside and scoop out that power.
You may be able to see what we're about to do before we do it, but you can't see what we did. Deadpool did, in fact, kill me, and I went straight to hell, but I came back.
Wait, what? No, but that would mean...
Ventus, what a disappointment you are. You're only making this harder for yourself.
Oh, well, look at the time. I just remembered I have a thing to do at Avengers Mansion.
No, we can't run now. If we can't defeat Ventus here, we'll be damning our souls for all eternity. We only have one chance. The heart blackens when that much corruption flows through your veins, Wade. We must turn the pump off.
Fine.
I'll try to create an opening.
Your soul. What kind of bargain did you make with Mephisto, Mikey? Only a soul equals a soul. So whose soul did you trade? Yours, of course. What? Oh, this is way better than a metaphorical opening that I thought you were creating. You kicked my ass across Manhattan, Ventus, but you were never gonna win this! Face it, Ventus, you were always my bitch.
All of the souls and Ben, who apparently got found by Ventus, escapes out of his body and into the ether. Michael tells Ben he forgives him for getting caught and ratting them out, as Ben profusely apologizes. Then Mephisto sticks his head back on and eats Ventus's heart, and Ventus's form remains a demonic dust, so Deadpool grabs a Roomba from a nearby electronics store and cleans up these dirty streets, and claims that his plan worked out perfectly. Michael and Ben get angry at Wade, but Mephisto passes between them, smells him, and discovers Agent Preston in his head. And he offers her a deal for a new body, and then transports them all into Deadpool's mind so they can talk face to face. Mephisto says that he can make sure that she can be with her family again and get out of Wade's mind. Ben and Michael tell her that they can and will find another way.
A pity, but she's not the only voice, is she? What do you say, Wade? Want me to evict her? How long will it be until she picks away at your scabs, Wade?
If you're talking about the part of my mind that's closed off, I ain't afraid of what's in there. I'm an open book.
Oh, how boring. Just give me a ring when you change your mind.
The group then walk into a once cordoned-off section of Deadpool's mind. Michael notes that the reason for it looking like this is because Wade has obfuscated his own memories. But it's not completely empty. There's a painting. A horrible, horrible painting. Michael says that he's not surprised Wade chooses to forget this part of his life. He just wishes he could do the same after the years he's spent in hell. And then he leaves and says that while he is grateful to be free and to have this group as his friends, he just really needs to be alone right now. And Preston asks Ben to go with him, and she'll stay with Wade. And Wade asks her for some time alone as well. And she tells him that with his mental block down, he might start remembering things that he doesn't want to. And Wade tells her, sadly, that he already is. And Preston asks if he's going to be alright, and Wade tells her that he thinks so. The end. Tell me what you thought of this comic in the comments below. What are your thoughts? Have you read through this whole series before? Like I said at the top of the show, I love this era of Deadpool. This run right here is my absolute favorite. I love how much it just combines the absolute insanity of comic books with the melancholy of Deadpool's existence. It's just a proper sad clown era for Wade. And don't worry, because it becomes even weirder and even sadder as the series continues, with just a perfect cast of characters. I love all the characters introduced in this series. They're all so equally great. It also helps, probably, that this was one of the first comics I started reading when I fully got into comics. This was still coming out. I have a really special place in my heart for most of the Marvel Now era of books, and if not the books, then the designs. I always really like the Marvel Now designs, especially the Iron Man one. It's the second best Iron Man look, that black and gold version. And like I said, oh my god, I just love this series so much. I could talk about it forever. I love the cast of characters. Every one of them are just so well done. They're all multi-dimensional. Even Ben Franklin. It would have been so easy to just make him some one-note lecherous old man ghost, but he actually has agency. Like, the characters are actual, like, characters. They're people who have to interact with Deadpool. They're not just there to serve the story. And that's what I really love about this Deadpool series, is that he is acting on his own volition, while all of the characters around him and his supporting cast are also acting with their own agency, just in correspondence and response to him. It never feels like these characters are introduced just because, oh, this is a neat-looking drawing, or, oh, there's a dumb idea I had and I want to get out there. Maybe that'll make me rich if he's in a movie or something. There's always a reason that these characters are introduced, and it always works so well, and they just have... I love it. I just love all of the writing in the series. It just... so well done. Just wonderfully well-made comic series. And the artwork and the color throughout it, fantastic. And of course, I absolutely love the throwback art style and coloring at the beginning of the series. Looking back, there's no doubt that this wasn't a huge influence on comics for me. Because like I said, this was one of the first comics I started reading when I was like fully getting into them. And I love the Silver Age. I loved seeing this like old 70s version, which of course is the Bronze Age, whatever. But I love old comics. And this has got to have been, subconsciously at least, an influence on that reasoning. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Of course, leave suggestions for Ultimate Marvel comics that I should be covering in the future that I haven't already on the channel. Check out my Etsy shop, blaketwl.etsy.com, for the first 2 issues of the Custodians Agents of Cross in Destructo Boy. Follow me on Patreon, where you can get early access to videos when available. Commentaries, movie stuff, comics, etc. Follow me on social media at NotBlakeWild, and check out my podcast, The Comic Shtick Podcast, where comics are my shtick. And I will see you next time. Bye!